The evil mother-in-law of the last days. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 1. Open your eyes to a new world. When Lin Yuxia died, he was dragging a cart of moldy wild vegetables, planning to go back and exchange a few rations with the team. In the last 3 years, as a plant-type superpower, she could produce a few young leaves from the dead grass, but she was often robbed and stepped on. When she closed her eyes, her head was being grabbed by a zombie, covered in blood. When she opened her eyes again, she saw the greenery outside the house, and a sack of food was piled up at the door. There are white flour bags on the wooden table, and oil drums in the corners. Lin Yuxia was stunned, reached out and touched the rice bag, and her heart was pounding. This. Where did it come from? Is it an illusion? Before he could think about it, there was a sudden bang outside the door. A young woman knelt down, tears flowing down, her forehead was bleeding, and she cried heart-wrenchingly, "Mother! You have to make decisions for your daughter." Lin Yuxia's heart tightened, thinking that it was a mutant zombie causing trouble, and kicked the person to the ground when he raised his foot. The woman rolled her eyes and snorted for a long time. Lin Yuxia. It seems like the wrong kick. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 2. The evil mother-in-law of the mother's bitter drama. After a few days, she finally figured out the situation. This is not the end of the world, but the countryside of the 70s. She became the evil mother-in-law of her 4 children, and her name was Lin Yuxia, just like her original body. It's just that the configuration of this big family is. It's very weird. The eldest son Lin Zonghan is a proper phoenix man. The poor boy turned around by studying and married a gentle and capable eldest daughter-in-law, Chu Lanzi, but he disliked her all day long, abandoned his wife and children, and ran to the city. The second son, Lin Zonglin, is cowardly on the outside, but the family is a grumpy and rotten person with punches and kicks. The third daughter, Lin Suiyun, is beautiful but brainless, infatuated with the most famous flower man in Shanghai, and does not hesitate to sell out the family's cloth tickets and food stamps. The youngest son Lin Zongs is a fool who can only shout mother every day, and drags a child bride Xiao Yuer who picked it up. What's even more outrageous is that this world was originally a bitter drama. In the future, the family will toss for half a lifetime, and in the end, the scumbags will be old and helpless, but the bitter daughters-in-law will accept it with open arms and usher in the so-called he. Lin Yuxia finished reading the script and sneered. Zombies are not as disgusting as this home. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 3. The evil mother-in-law who turned the table. The first thing, the eldest son Lin Zonghan was about to move his luggage to the city, leaving a sentence: Laneige will take care of you. Lin Yuxia blocked the door with a stick, her face as cold as frost. Want to leave? Okay. The household registration book is left, the food stamps are left, and the money stamps are left. Leave the child with me too. Lin Zonghan stared. Mother. I want to get ahead. The stick hit the ground with a pop. Lin Yuxia's eyes were like knives. You have to rely on yourself to get ahead, not to suck up your wife. From today onwards, if you dare to step into this courtyard door for half a step, my mother will let you kneel until you are old. Chu Lanzi's eyes turned red on the spot, but for the first time she felt her heart feel light. The second thing, the second son Lin Zonglin raised his hand to hit someone. Lin Yuxia grabbed his ear, carried him to the yard and beat him up, and sneered, hit your wife? It's kind of rushing at the old lady. Let me see you again next time, don't ask for your hand. Ruan seeing her covered her mouth and shed tears for a long time, but it was not humiliation, but a long-lost relief. The third thing, the third daughter Lin Suiyun held a stack of food stamps and cried and said she wanted true love. Lin Yuxia was expressionless, took out the food stamp, and lit a fire. Love can be there, but you have to use the money you earn to support it, and you are not allowed to loot your mother's family. Want to give up? Go die yourself, don't drag me. Lin Suiyun screamed, Mother. Why are you so cruel? Lin Yuxia sneered, compared to raising scumbags, this is called compassion. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 4. The amazing skills of the end of the world. It was not enough to have food storage, so she habitually walked to the edge of the field and pressed her hand to the cracked ground. The plant abilities in the apocalypse can still be used. I saw a flash of green light, and fat and tender wild vegetables emerged from the wild grass, and 2 cucumbers were bearing fruit. Her eyes lit up, and the corners of her mouth slowly rose, Ha, the granary is in my hands. Soon after, the villagers were surprised to find that everything could grow in the backyard of the Lin family. The crops ripened a month earlier than others, and even the fruit trees bore fruit quickly. Lin Yuxia, on the other hand, was secretly happy. In the last days, eating bark and grass roots would kill him, but now he can easily grow a full garden with a bumper harvest. What is this, not a fairy day? Underscore 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 un. Chapter 5 Punch the Scum and Kick the Nest. As the days went on, rumors began to spread in the village. The old lady of the Lin family is really an evil mother-in-law, forcing her son and daughter-in-law to work, and beating people. Lin Yuxia didn't bother to pay attention. Until one day, Lin Zonghan sneaked back and wanted to hook Lan Zi to the city to share the suffering. Lin Yuxia kicked the person over and said coldly, "Lonely? You just use her as a free nanny." Lin Zonglin was not to be outdone, and scolded after getting drunk. Lin Yuxia raised his hand and slapped him, making his face full of heat, and shouted, "If you dare to do something to Singer again, I will let you hang the sign at the entrance of the village for 3 days." For a while, the Lin family was in a state of turmoil, and no one dared to make any mistakes. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6 The Landlord's Wife's Cultivation. Lin Yuxia was flexible, planning the fields, exchanging food for money, and then going to the town to buy livestock. She even secretly raised a pond without telling the village cotters, which was rich in fish and shrimp. With his eldest grandson on his left hand and his youngest granddaughter on his right hand, he lives a prosperous life and the villagers are jealous of him. I'm afraid the old lady of the Lin family is not smoking from the ancestral grave, right? How to get more and more prosperous? Lin Yuxia sat in the yard, drinking homebrewed fruit wine, and hummed softly in her heart, "This is called strength." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 7 Reversal and Light Monster. Strange things gradually appeared. One night, the moon was blood red, and the crops in the yard suddenly grew explosively, and the vines wrapped around the eaves, almost overturning the house. Lin Yuxia was keenly aware that this was not an ordinary rural area, but a world mixed with strange rules. No wonder the original story was so bloody. This place is not normal in the first place. She fully released the plant ability, suppressed the strange power, and even absorbed it in reverse, making the entire crop fatter. When the villagers saw her suppressing the vision like a fairy, they immediately spread, "The old lady of the Lin family is a goddess." Lin Yuxia sneered and ignored it. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8 Careers are all over the world. A few years later, the outlet of reform and opening up came. Lin Yuxia had a vicious vision and took her children to set up farms, orchards, and even contract reservoirs. Fish, shrimp, and crabs are transported to the city, and the supply exceeds demand. Overseas businessmen came, and they were also impressed by her goods. Lin Yuxia gritted her teeth to learn English and insisted on doing business abroad. From a small courtyard in the countryside, to a big villa in the countryside, to a commercial empire. The Lin family is turned upside down. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9 The Evil Mother-in-Law's Counterattack. Many years later, those original bitter daughters-in-law have changed. Chu Lanzi opened a food company and became a strong woman. Ruan Xinger learned to fight back and became a female representative of the township. Even the third daughter Lin Suiyun learned to support herself under the persecution of her mother, but in the end she no longer fell in love with scumbags. Lin Zonghan, Lin Zonglin and other scumbags were completely swept away by Lin Yuxia when they needed to rely on them most in life. "Mom. We were wrong, so let us go home." Lin Yuxia sat on the rattan chair in the mansion and sipped tea lightly. "The way out is chosen by yourself." She smiled indifferently but cheerfully. Chapter 10 Live Happily. As the sun set, the laughter of children came from the Lin family manor. The eldest grandson ran over and shouted, "Grandma! The fish in the fish pond are so big." The little granddaughter also threw herself into her arms. Her milky voice was milky, "Grandma is the best." Lin Yuxia was holding her 2 children, and her heart suddenly felt a lot of emotion. From surviving in the last days, to the evil mother-in-law in the 70s, to now having a career and full of children and grandchildren, she finally has true happiness. Zombies don't have such difficult housework. She smiled and muttered, "However, my mother won." The wind blows through the rice fields, and the golden waves roll. In this life, she finally lived happily. Chapter 11 The Daily Life of the Countryside. After Lin Yuxia moved into the countryside, her life completely changed to the mode of being a god and others being a follower. Every morning, she first patrolled the orchard, and when she touched her fingertips, the peach trees and plum trees were full of fruit. Then I walked to the vegetable garden, and the wild vegetables, cucumbers and pumpkins all automatically grew strong. The little granddaughter came running over with a smile. Grandma, the tomatoes I picked are the biggest. Lin Yuxia smiled so much that her eyes curved into crescent moons. Who taught you to pick them? It's delicious, it's all thanks to my mother. At lunch, she cooked herself and made a feast of delicacies from the mountains and sea, a platter of chicken, duck, fish and wild vegetables. This is not something ordinary people can make. Lin Yuxia looked calm. Do you want to eat? Come to my house to study. My mother does not guarantee that you will be full, but she guarantees that you will have a lot of knowledge. Chapter 12 The Great Battle for the Education of Children and Grandchildren. The eldest grandson Lin Yuchen is impatient and wants to win everything he sees. The little granddaughter Lin Yufei acted coquettishly and cried at every turn. Lin Yuxia grabbed her eldest grandson's ear. Yuchen, if you don't listen to grandma, my mother will throw away all your wild vegetables tomorrow. The eldest grandson pouted. Grandma, I promise. Seeing this, the little granddaughter burst into tears. Grandma, I promise too. Lin Yuxia couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha, you two little goblins, my mother taught you a little self-reliance, and you will become angels. So, she taught the children planting, hunting, fishing, and even taught supernatural skills every day. With a light touch, crops can grow faster. With a gentle pull, the vine automatically entangled the little rabbit who stole the vegetables. Chapter 13 Expansion of Business. Lin Yuxia's orchards, vegetable gardens, and reservoirs gradually became the star production areas in the village, and she began to sell her products to the town. The price was not high, but the quality was excellent. Merchants came to buy one after another, and she raised her hand and waved. Queue up for my mother first. If you come late, wait next year. Soon, she used the remaining land to raise pigs and sheep, and built a small workshop to make dried fruits and canned vegetables, and even began to export them to nearby counties and cities. She smiled and told her little granddaughter, you have grown up, but you must remember that my mother has not only built a vegetable garden, but also an empire. Chapter 14 Family Governance and Transformation. Lin Yuxia occasionally went to the town to run errands, and when she saw her eldest son Lin Zonghan actually coming back to please Lan Xi, she sneered, I've turned my face, no one wants to fool me. She directly called her eldest daughter-in-law Chu Lan Xi and said with a smile, you should enjoy your life, you don't have to put up with this guy anymore. Lin Zonghan's eyes widened, wanting to defend. Lin Yuxia waved his hand, get out. I won't say it a second time today. The second son, Lin Zonglin, still wanted to turn over the old accounts, but Lin Yuxia kicked it away and muttered, useless waste, my mother has taught you to suffer since you were a child, you just don't have a brain. The villagers secretly discussed, the old lady of the Lin family is really ruthless, but this ruthlessness is full of justice. Chapter 15 Bizarre Strange Things. One night, the moonlight suddenly turned red, and the vegetable fields in Lin Yuxia's yard grew spontaneously, growing corn and pumpkins taller than people, and the vines spread to the roof, and the roof tiles were about to collapse. Her eyes widened, this is not normal growth. It turned out that her abilities were amplified in the strange world of the 70s, and could even echo with heaven and earth, forming a small microclimate. The villagers thought the old lady was crazy, but when they saw the vegetable fields full of vitality, they rushed to ask for seeds. Lin Yuxia pointed to the sky and sneered, this is the power of the old lady. Chapter 16 Overseas Merchants and the Rise of Empires. After the reform and opening up, Lin Yuxia keenly smelled business opportunities. She uses her own reservoir to raise fish, then exports dried fruits, and sells canned vegetables overseas. At first, the businessman laughed at her as a country mother-in-law, but the goods were sold out in a month. She sat in the office, holding the order in her hand, her smile indifferent but murderous. This is the counterattack of the country mother-in-law. The eldest grandson Lin Yuqian followed aside and asked, Grandma, can we really do business all over the world? Lin Yuxia blinked, not only the whole world, but my mother wants the world to know who is the real landlord. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 17 Family and Happiness. Lin Yuxia trained her children and grandchildren to become capable little helpers, and Chu Lanzi, Ruan Singer and even Lin Suiyun also learned to be self-reliant. Every morning, everyone was busy in the orchard, the children were playing and playing. Lin Yuxia sat on the wicker chair with a teacup, watching all this. Her heart was as comfortable as opening a skylight. This is called the day. She laughed secretly in her heart. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 18 The Desired Appearance. Under the afterglow of the setting sun, Lin Yuxia stood on the high platform of her Dabi field, holding her little granddaughter in her hand and carrying her eldest grandson on her shoulder. The eldest son, second son, and third daughter all stood up obediently, knowing that this mother, who was once an evil mother-in-law, was the real master of the family. Lin Yuxia laughed softly, zombies don't have trouble with this family, but my mother won. The wind blew through the golden rice fields, the golden waves rolled, and the children's laughter echoed in the mountains and fields. In this life, she is no longer bitter haha, no longer swallowing her anger, in this life, she is in control. Lin Yuxia, a planned superpower in the last days, an evil mother-in-law in the 70s, and a big landowner in the countryside, finally lived the way he wanted. Chapter 19 The Storm of a Rural Town. As Lin Yuxia's orchard, vegetable garden, and reservoir business grew bigger and bigger, her name began to spread throughout the township. The villagers discussed, the old lady of the Lin family, as expected of that evil mother-in-law, can make a lot of money by farming and raising fish. One day, a middle-aged man who claimed to be a businessman in the city came to him, Mrs. Lin, I heard that the fruits and vegetables here are of excellent quality, and I want to contract some of them to wholesale to the city market. Lin Yuxia blinked, and a sneer appeared on the corner of her mouth. It's okay to contract, but the price is set by me. Who dares to raise a penny? I'll let you taste the power of my cucumber. The middle-aged man's heart trembled, knowing that the evil mother-in-law in front of him was not easy to mess with, so he had to nod his head in agreement. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 20 Family Unity and Break-In. Chu Lanzi, Ruan Singer and Lin Suiyun, under Lin Yuxia's strict education, finally became independent, and the children gradually became sensible. The eldest grandson Lin Yuqian, under the leadership of Lin Yuxia, learned farming techniques and simple application of supernatural abilities, while the youngest granddaughter Lin Yufei was shrewd and clever, often helping her grandmother read accounts and calculate money. After Lin Zonghan was woken up by his mother, he slowly began to help manage the business. Although the second son Lin Zonglin was clumsy, he did not dare to mess around in front of his grandmother. Lin Yuxia sat on the rattan chair in the courtyard, looking at the reintegrated family, and smiled secretly in her heart. This is called true happiness. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 21 Bizarre Abilities. One night, Lin Yuxia's plant abilities suddenly became extremely powerful, and the melon vines and corn vines in the yard grew spontaneously, hovering into a small maze, and they could also move around to block the thief who stole vegetables. When the villagers saw this spectacle, they worshipped one after another. Old Lady Lin, are you a god? Lin Yuxia smiled disdainfully. Immortal? The old lady is an evil mother-in-law. As long as she has some strength, anyone dares to call her a fairy. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 22 The Beginning of the Commercial Empire. With the acceleration of the reform and opening up process, Lin Yuxia's career began to expand outward. She exported fruits and vegetables to the city market, set up a small processing plant to produce canned and dried fruits, and even introduced fish and shrimp from the reservoir into the frozen supply. Businessmen watched her business flourish and asked for cooperation. Lin Yuxia sat in the office, holding the order, smiling indifferently. The old lady is not only a big landlord in the countryside, but also a little queen of the country. underscore 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 un. Chapter 23 The Wisdom of the Family and the Descendants. Lin Yuchen and Lin Yufei gradually grew up, knew how to take care of their families, and even had some little skills to deal with supernatural abilities. Lin Yuxia taught them, farm work depends on hard work, business depends on wisdom, and family depends on unity. The eldest grandson nodded, Grandma, I want to be as powerful as you. The little granddaughter smiled, Grandma, I also want to help you manage the reservoir. Lin Yuxia's heart warmed, my mother's successor is good. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 24 External Challenges. Just when everything seemed to be going well, a group of big businessmen in the city wanted to buy Lin Yuxia's reservoir and orchard. Lin Yuxia sneered, want to buy? Hat, my mother raised it herself, and it's not your turn. She personally led her family and employees, using her abilities to enhance production and quality, and finally not only repelled foreign enemies, but also successfully negotiated more favorable cooperation conditions. The villagers looked at her and secretly admired, Mrs. Lin is the real heroine among women. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 25 Ordinary and Happy Days. As her career stabilized, Lin Yuxia began to enjoy ordinary happiness. She walks in the orchard in the morning, plays chess with her children and grandchildren in the afternoon, and watches the sunset with tea in the evening. The eldest grandson played, the younger granddaughter acted coquettishly, Chu Lanzi, Ruan Singer and Lin Suiyun also settled down and each had small achievements. Lin Yuxia sighed, this is what makes life happy, and the old lady finally turned over. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 26 The Ending. The golden light of the setting sun shone on the Lin family's big field, and the laughter of the children came from the yard. Lin Yuxia was holding her little granddaughter, carrying her eldest grandson on her shoulder, and the reservoir in the distance was sparkling and the orchard was full of greenery. The eldest son, second son, and third daughter all stood up obediently, knowing that their mother was the real master. Lin Yuxia laughed softly, zombies don't have trouble with this family, but my mother won. The wind blew through the rice fields, the golden waves rolled, and the laughter of the children echoed in the mountains and fields. From the end of the world to the 70s, and then to the big landlord in the countryside, Lin Yuxia finally lived the way she wanted. Underscore 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 un. Postscript. Lin Yuxia once thought that her life would be bitter haha, from the apocalyptic plant superpowers to the bitter and evil mother-in-law, every step was full of difficulties and grievances. But she knows how to turn her fate around, learn to use wisdom and strength to protect her family, protect her children and grandchildren, and even create her own business empire. The world may only remember her legendary achievements, but she knows that the real victory is having a happy family and the freedom to control her life. This is the counterattack life of Lin Yuxia, a planned superpower, an evil mother-in-law in the 70s, and a big landlord in the countryside.